the thing put that in there. So I was like, that's true.
Okay. Yeah, they are necessary sorts. Um, Although I am not offended by emergency melee weapon.
Oh, right. Yes, every soldier has one. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get going. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Smudcast number 681. Where Skyrim succeeded and Zelda failed. That's an interesting title to say that two games, or rather, Skyrim is one game and Zelda is a whole category of games, a whole name brand, because of the latest two Zelda games that came out, and those are open world. So they're sharing the same genre. These are three very different games.
They're technically all open world.
Yes.
Technically speaking, it's also I think it's one of the defining traits, if not the. Was there another game that did open world before the first Zelda game? Like from maybe uh, Rogue.
I would imagine Ultima is probably the closest, but Zelda came out in the 80s.
I don't know the release dates of all of those.
Okay, never mind. It's open world games have been around for a while,
Yeah.
and they only got popular in the 90s, or rather the early 2000s, with games that actually had the memory capacity to have online open world, or whatever the case was with Ultima. And I don't know if you recall action games, but these were all real time, so there's no turn based experiences. So that was the nature of the genre, and it started off
Yeah.
in 8-bit world or 16-bit world on Commodores. So you have to like your Commodore 10 and other IBM compatible devices to run Ultima and the various Ultima Onlines that came out after. So
I feel like all the earlier Elder Scroll titles, like before Morrowind, like the ones that were just sprite based, like they couldn't even handle the open world properly because of the memory limit. So they had procedurally generated terrain, like dungeons as well.
I
Like, I think like the dungeons were scripted, but everything else around it was procedurally generated.
yeah, it felt like you were just thrown into a world like with Arena. I remember playing, and you had 6-party team, and you're like running around, and it's like, okay,
Yeah,
what am I doing? Who am I? What's going on? And you have all these crazy different people and classes and different races. So you have to figure out your story in your own head. It's like, okay, I got a monk who like has a staff and he beats people with it, and I got an elf over here. Like you're trying to make up the story as you go because you're not sure what's going on, and you find all this crazy gear and you don't know what to do with it. It's cursed or whatever. So there's lots of things going on in open world games that weren't explained, but I think that's the nature of it. It's just it's a sandbox with a lot of toys. You have to go find the toys and see how they work. And with Zelda, it usually had the Metroidvania concept of I need a key to open a door. Now I have a raft. Now I have a torch. Now I can burn stuff down. Now I can blow up walls with my bombs. And now I can explore more. So there's always stuff to
Yeah.
expand.
The interesting thing is that even the early Zelda games had the if you either by super accident or if you really know the game well, you could do the dungeons in the not intended order without bugs to exploit.
Yeah, same with Skyrim, I think. Obviously, you'd probably get your ass handed to you unless you ran away a lot. But you could the whole cheat in Skyrim is to be a stealth archer or a rogue archer because you could just snipe from far away. No one
Is
can
that the
find
most
you.
realistic type of hero to succeed anyway?
Probably, yeah. Even in medieval times, if you're like in the dark, and no one can see you, and all of a sudden an arrow just impales your victim, then yeah, no one saw you. So yeah, that's how the game sort of devolves into. Even though you can go into magic, you can go into melee, you can go into turning into a werewolf or a vampire or whatever the case is. So there's lots of things you can do in these games, or at least in
It's
Skyrim.
a bit of a joke with Tears of the Kingdom
Oh,
that you can. It is more combat heavy and less exploration heavy, despite having two more layers to explore. But it is less reliant on you having higher stamina than the other game. The stamina was more important there.
all the
This game, the enemies deal way more damage, but especially as the game progresses, I've just been passive and letting the AI do everything and just shoot the occasional arrow because like it's fun to watch.
Well, the videos that I've seen left me confused because I saw. Well, there's several videos of Link like teleporting up into the air with some sort of item, which is kind of cool. And there's all this stuff in the sky that you can explore. But then there's videos which I don't understand what I'm watching. And all of a sudden, Link summons a platform that looks like a mech. And all of a sudden, all of a sudden, there's this death laser, and then all of these things in like the way background are just like getting flown into the air, and I'm just like, what is happening? What is this game about? So I don't know. I didn't play the game.
It's Metal Gear Solid game. You see,
you can
build your own Metal Gear.
Yeah, you can build your own Metal Gear basically from Lego parts.
Oh boy! What a great idea in a Zelda game. What a weird concept.
Well, the one thing that many people who, especially when they never played a Zelda game before, it is from the very first game. The idea was to have a parallel world. In the first game, they couldn't do that for memory reasons. So you only had the fantasy world. But even in the first game, they wanted to make a parallel world, which is our time or the future. And all the magic items in the fantasy world are just very highly developed technology. And you can see hints of that in every single Zelda game, that it's just very highly developed technology from ancient civilization, or in the case of the first game, from the future. And that's what you built your mech from, Lego parts from ancient civilization 10, 15,000 years ago.
Okay, cool stuff. Now, let me just check the stats in this video. Came out June, so just a few weeks ago. June 18th. Has about 207,000 views. And he has almost 400,000 subs, so this is a popular channel. There's 17,000 upvotes and 507 downvotes, according to my plugin. So that's why I thought this would be a positive video. Wouldn't be too hard to pick apart. And you guys know Zelda, I know Skyrim. It's not this inherently complex, unheard of series of games. We can nitpick if we need to. So for 27 and a half minutes, I'm sure there's lots to say.
Yeah.
And we don't have to worry about crazy like political talk or
my assumption is that he's comparing two games that have completely different goals in their game design and in the what they want to achieve. And puts an arbitrary thing he likes about Skyrim to compare to Zelda, and that Zelda cannot deliver on because it didn't intend to fulfill that in the first place. That's what I assume is going to happen.
All right, I think we're ready to go. Let's do this.
Wars: Shadow of the Empire was a spanning Star Wars project from the late 90s, created with the intention of widening the Star Wars universe, re-establishing the IP in the collective zeitgeist, and making enough money to pay for George Lucas's mall food court chicky nuggies for the rest of his life. An incredibly ambitious project, Shadows of the Empire would tell a story set between The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, across a novel, a comic series.
Are we watching the right video? Okay, Star Wars, yay.
The video game, covering the exploits of space smuggler Dash Rendar, original character Do Not Steal, was one of the first titles developed for the Nintendo 64. LucasArts, at one point during development, invited Nintendo themselves to check out the progress on the title, and maybe provide some input. The game had been a struggle, to say the least. Upon seeing the work done, legendary game developer Shigeru Miyamoto asked LucasArts, mildly, "What does this have to do with anything?" "Well, less than usual, frankly. It's just a story I like. That being said, this is a story from a time when Nintendo was struggling to keep up. The Nintendo 64 didn't do so hot. Neither did its successor, the GameCube. But Nintendo pulled through. The reason they started struggling can be chalked up to many things. Some say it was Nintendo's inability to just fucking put a DVD drive in their console. Wait, no, not like that. Others...
Oh god, that story. Don't you know why the Super Nintendo didn't get a CD-ROM upgrade station? It's because Sony was developing that for Nintendo. Then they argued, had a marriage kerfuffle or something, divorced, and then Sony made their own console from that. So Nintendo didn't even have this technology, and then decided, hey, that PlayStation has insane loading times. That's not fun. Let's stick with the cartridges. At least they have instant memory access. And, well, maybe because I was a kid, I didn't notice that, but Nintendo seemed to do okay enough. Like, everybody knows those games, right? So I don't follow.
Yeah, the mini disc.
Maybe it wasn't. Oh, they didn't make 10 times what they made or something. I don't know what the critique is.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember another console that used the mini disc, for example, on the GameCube. Was it the TurboGrafx 16, I think? Something like that?
I don't know. But the mini disc was a mistake because that was too much of a memory limitation.
Okay.
They more opted for the optical design of the GameCube and the idea of, oh, we have the strap on the back so that you can take it with you as like a mobile console. No. No.
It was a fun console.
That was a bad choice.
It was like that. What had one of the best controllers, I think, the GameCube, and it was fun for what it was worth. It was kind of like a Dreamcast, only a lot more power. So, the same fate that befell the Dreamcast.
Say Nintendo continued to play to a younger demographic, while gaming's main demographic was aging. I say, however, that their struggles around this period can mostly...
I wouldn't say so. Nintendo keeps staying to its original audience, which is, yes, children, but also staying in a always family compatible context. It tries to keep stay with that market as a stable and reliable source, which I think is a good strategy. And the rest you just dabble into, expand into when it is opportune, when it works. But it keeps its stable foundations, which is not what other companies do. They may chase after the quick money, but it is not always the long-term good strategy to just chase after the quick money.
Yeah, I always like
because then you lose your base.
I like the design of the Sony wand or whatever that thing was. It basically looked like a microphone.
Yes.
And it was like, what are they trying to, like, what people are they trying to capture with this technology? It's just this motion capture wand. It was like, this is silly. So whatever they did with the Switch, it resonated with people. It worked. I think the marketing campaign was also a good idea, but the actual design and functionality that you could actually go around with it and just drop it into your docking port at home when you're ready. It was great. I had my cousins, they came by, they brought it, they were playing whatever game they wanted. Like, that's awesome. So it's cool that they can turn a console mobile like that and make it.
The thing with the N64 is it was rather expensive, the base console.
And that's when the Sony sort of came out. So
Sony was already out.
Yeah.
So they already had to compete with. They came late to the 3D market, despite having dabbled into it with the Super Nintendo's freaky FX chip. But the main 3D console that basically took the monopoly was the PlayStation. And most families don't buy several game consoles of the same generation.
Plus, you could play music on your PlayStation if you really wanted to. So
yeah.
Anyway, look, this is all just, background history. We don't need to talk about this. It's not about the video. But I'm assuming he's providing context. I just don't know what it is.
To the fact that they were is a video game company.
The big boys now? Nintendo were the big boys. This seems to be a very one-sided view of history.
Okay.
Sony is a massive and monstrous bloodstained technology conglomerate, as is Microsoft.
Fascinating.
Imagine
creepy
going
and evil.
from competing against Sega to competing against fucking Microsoft. It's like you've spent your whole life slap fighting your little brother, and then you're thrown into the ring with Mike Tyson. Sega may give you a bruise. Microsoft will eat your ear. They will fuck you till you
The first
love them.
Xbox was
In the
complete
aftermath
flopping
of Microsoft
garbage.
And Sony entering the ring, Nintendo had to compete on a level that had never been required before. And they just sort of didn't. Microsoft bought Rare. Nintendo made Luigi's Mansion. Sony, a big CD-ROM player manufacturer, makes a console that also plays CDs. Nintendo makes a machine committed 100% unwaveringly to Pokemon fucking Snap. Microsoft builds online
What?
gaming architecture.
Can we get on with
Nintendo
this?
Makes bowling. Bowling? Bowling.
This guy's comparisons suck,
Sorry,
and
my
yes, Chad, I
producer's
completely agree.
Motioning towards me. Wait, what do you mean we have no money left? I
Wow,
made
we are
money
going
last week.
nostalgia quick on this.
Oh no.
Oh, you're telling me life
all
is
black.
just a series of weeks where you need to make money?
Is the video
Late
broken?
Black Lives Matter joke.
I see. Well, I may not have much money left, but well, at least I know where to spend it. This video is sponsored by Temu. Have
Oh,
you ever thought
God.
to yourself,
Oh god.
We just skip this.
like whatever? Was my big
Okay, come
Bye.
on.
Consent. They compete with
277 sponsoring this video.
Nintendo doesn't make sense. It exists without God's consent.
Oh my
They
God.
compete with
What?
massive technology conglomerates, largely by not competing with them directly.
I think this guy is a fanboy of the other two.
What the hell's wrong with Nintendo's business strategy or model? It's fine. It's winning. It's doing fine.
It's not the business strategy of everyone else, so they're shit and should just stop existing because it means they should lose, but they don't somehow. They can't somehow stay alive.
It was relevant for like the N64 and GameCube that their sales were like destroyed by the PS2, but I think like they bounced back pretty well with the Wii.
I mean,
And that has been since 2006. This argument is so irrelevant. Like, if he tries to attack like what Nintendo does with their game design, he's not doing a good job.
yeah, he's trying to make this weird argument about platforms and technology, and that's fine. But there's other strategies in business that have nothing to do with competition, and they work. So whether you want to call that exclusivity or having a certain library for a certain demo, sure. But you think in terms of who wants this? Who actually likes us? Who likes our brand? How do we give them what they want and then some? That's what Mario has always been with Zelda, Metroid. They keep pushing the bar on the things they're good at that sell. Not, oh, look, Call of Duty, let's do a Call of... No, they don't do that. They do their own thing, and people like it. And that's the Japanese market, which translates amazingly to the rest of the world because they're fun games, not big, giant shoot-em-ups or multiplayer with 80 people simultaneously. Nintendo does things differently.
Yeah, and what what Microsoft bought was not Rare, but the husk of Rare. The games that Rare made under Microsoft are garbage.
All right, let's take a break because this guy's just wasting our time. We got a super chat from Dark Seraph. Thank you, sir. What does this have to do with Skyrim? I don't know. We're
I
waiting
don't
for.
know either.
Why is
Well,
it?
does any of this have to do with Zelda?
Wasn't it? Was it? Which Xbox was it that Microsoft was subsidizing so hard they made losses per sale of console?
It wasn't.
Was it the 360 or the Xbox One?
It could have been the 360.
No, I think like none of the two. It was different version of the Xbox One. I think like they had like a different release that was like a soft upgrade. Like it had like a different GPU or CPU unit. I don't know.
Okay.
So it was. I think like it can do 4K resolution or something shit like that. So it wasn't really like that big of a deal.
Okay. Well, there were various versions of the Xbox I remember on the launch.
So many.
Yeah.
So
And I mean, okay, that is a business strategy that Nintendo cannot run, but I'm okay with that because that is shit. That basically says that your console is failing and you shouldn't exist anymore, which against God's graces, which is what this guy said about Nintendo. So, what is your point?
all right, here's Gingaman, one of the panelists, not here today. Thanks for the tip, sir. To say that Nintendo doesn't compete with the other two is not entirely wrong. I agree. There's a concept called the blue ocean strategy of business, where instead of a red ocean or a dog-eat-dog world, it's, hey, there's this massive world for us to provide to people, our services and products. You do your thing, I do my thing, we all get along. As Nintendo generally takes their own direction in the games industry. Also, the Dark Seraph wanted to be joined for this video as he is a fan of both Skyrim and Zelda. We haven't even gotten to that yet. I'm not sure how long that's going to be in this video. So, I mean, if we want to skip ahead and we'll get to some details, we might bring some experts in. That'd be great. But I was hoping for a positive video. I had no idea we were going to get a history lesson of weird fanboy rambling on about Nintendo.
Yeah.
Oh, he started rambling on about like Shadow of the Empire game.
That was
like,
what?
What is the relevance of that?
That was damn irrelevant.
All right.
But one thing to the explanation of the business strategy, it reminds me of one of Terry Pratchett's stories, Small Gods, when the main character and the previous storm god Om come across the goddess of lettuce. And they both ask, there's a goddess of lettuce? And she tells them, yeah, well, you know, storm gods come and go. But lettuce, people always need lettuce.
All right. Anyway, this is all stuff I learned back in my school days, believe it or not. Actually, some of it was happening during my school days. So, yes, I had to do game history for game school. Anyway, let's just get on with it.
You can change the exercise
Oh
intensity
my
to
God.
suit your ability.
So what's the point? Why did you put up flyers all around the neighborhood for a free TED Talk, then took my phone and locked the door once I entered what is clearly your basement?
I think the Ring thing sold about 2 million times in Japan in the first week.
Yeah,
The whole Wii Fit thing was a giant craze. It's amazing.
Yeah, they started with the power pad with the NES, and then they got to what's that stepping platform for the Wii Fit, and then they had the circle and all these other contraptions for exercise, which I thought was cool.
Yeah, they're trying to be inventive and not just make the next ego shooter.
Yeah, so instead of jiggling your legs on the power pad to run in their track and field game that they provided, they gave you an actual stepping stool that you could track and get your heart rate going and act like a human as opposed to a kid on too much pop. Anyway, why this is relevant to Skyrim, I have no idea.
Because you're a dirty little boy, and I must punish you, like my daddy punished me. Oh, no, indeed. Only God will hear your screams. But before we get to that, I think it's important that we meditate upon Nintendo's new Zelda games.
What's that
because
doing?
you see, these games
Have you ever
do
been in water?
compete directly with Nintendo's peers. A Mario game basically competes with nothing. It almost exists in like a vacuum. There are no big AAA 3D platformers to compete with. But Zelda now takes design influences from Shadow of the Colossus and Skyrim and The Witcher 3. It's a big blowout game set in a massive world filled with things.
Okay, I hope you explain to me what it took from Skyrim and Witcher 3. Shadow of the Colossus? I don't know how much you can argue that. Twilight Princess already had a lot of visuals about it. It just didn't have the giant climbable enemy.
Wait,
So I don't know. It had the atmosphere was already there.
hasn't Zelda always been a platforming adventure game?
If you exclude Zelda 2,
Sure.
top down, yes.
Sure. But
Zelda 4, Link's Awakening on the Game Boy, even had a feather that allowed you to jump in the top-down game. So that was really a platformer.
excluding the second one, which is a side-scroller, I could argue is also a platformer for 2D. First game was top-down. Then we got to the Super Nintendo era. it's always been an adventure game. So if they want to go full 3D and it's going to follow platforming and adventure, they can scale up, they can scale forward. It doesn't really, that's just part of the genre.
Yeah.
And
anyone who believes that Zelda is only an open world since Breath of the Wild and therefore stole it from Skyrim or something is an idiot.
yeah, if you designed an adventure game in the 80s, it would probably look something like Ultima, Hydlide, Zelda, whatever technology allowed. Now we're in 2020 decade. We've got all kinds of memory to play with, all kinds of 4K res, all kinds of RAM. Yeah, you're going to get higher quality everything.
Yeah, and the whole thing is from the first Zelda game, it's almost famous that the first, when you explain game design to people, open world game design, the first screen on the first Zelda game is you're on a field and there's a path north, west, east, and there's a cave. It's completely up to you where you go, what you do, your thing, completely your choice. Breath of the Wild does the same thing. You get out of the cave. You basically the only thing you're told is go to the tower, and once you get to the tower, you're told, I need to get to these 3 shrines, and once you're done, you can do them in any order, all up to you, whatever interests you. And once you're out of that, you're completely free to go where you want.
So I'm just wondering where this guy's going with this. I don't even know if it's a simile or he's just introducing it this way for his own argument. I don't know. To say the game is 3D is like, oh, it's 3D. It's been 3D for decades. So.
Okay. Oh my God, Zelda was the first 3D open world game ever.
Maybe. I don't really.
Ocarina of Time. That was genre defining.
Yeah, it's not like this is hardly a big deal. And who cares if it goes into like back to side scrolling or over the top isometric views? Like who cares? Like what's the point?
Yeah.
What's the big deal?
Yeah. Ocarina of Time. Once you get out of the Kokiri forest, yes, your quest is go to the castle. That's somewhere in the distance. Maybe I don't even remember whether you can see it from where you get out of the forest. But the moment you get out of the forest, you're in Hyrule Field, the hub area. You can try to go wherever you want. You can get lost. That's the point.
Anyway.
That was in 1996, 98, 97? Somewhere between that.
Anyway, this
I only remember Majora's Mask was 99, I think.
I want him to get to a point here because we're just like finally getting to the argument. We're already 5-6 minutes in. It was like, oh, Zelda, wow, thanks. We're talking about Zelda again.
The equivalent of if they released Mario War FPS during the aughts, like when that was the craze.
What?
Zelda's new direction is a direction that puts Nintendo right in the big boys' crosshairs.
Well, I mean,
Why?
claiming Nintendo is...
No,
Explain.
I wouldn't compare Skyrim or open world games like Skyrim or Fallout or anything Bethesda does to Zelda. I just would not do that. That's bizarre.
Yeah. I think a closer comparison would be a role-playing game like Gothic. Or if you want to go that route, maybe... Well, Morrowind was about the time after Majora's Mask.
I think any...
To claim that this because they made Breath of the Wild, they're now competing with the big open world games. No. The big open world games were competing with the open world games that Nintendo made that you were not smart enough to realize what they were.
Yeah, I wouldn't even use the Elder Scrolls to compare. I would say look at the comments by other games that do games that look like Skyrim, let's say the Dragon Age series, and say, okay, what does Dragon Age compare to? Not even Skyrim or any of the Elder Scrolls. You could say that the genres have various similar overlaps, but you'd have to look at, say, something like The Witcher, single player, vast open, not open world except for 3, but the style and the nature of the game are extremely similar. The difference is Dragon Age has a party and The Witcher has one character and everything's focused on that character. So That would be more accurate for that style of game. But with Skyrim's its own thing. Who else is doing Skyrim style gaming or games that is even remotely comparable? I don't know.
Yeah, it's very little. It's the only thing that comes to my mind is Gothic, really.
Yeah, and it's the same with the Zelda franchise.
Because you get thrown into a world, you don't you only know the bare bones of that world, and you have to figure out the plot yourself. You're not told the plot. You have to figure out what the hell is even going on.
All right. Hopefully he'll go into details so we get better criteria, because right now we're like genre. That's like the basic understanding. Give me some details. Anyway.
Some sort of Underdog is obviously pretty stupid. But I see what you're saying. The new Zelda games take design influence from some of the biggest games of the past decade or so.
Do they?
And as a consequence,
Every game.
Zelda now competes with those titles.
No, they don't.
I'm sure Nintendo really shows the big boys how it's done, huh? No! I think Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom fall flat on their faces in the exploration department. I'm going to use a game that's over a decade old and now broadly hated to explain how they should have done it. Wow, you really like getting anthrax in the mail, huh? Listen, the guys that won't understand where I'm coming from with this probably bought Super Mario All-Stars. Their opinions don't matter.
What?
Super Mario All-Stars was a Super Nintendo game. It was a compilation of the three Mario Brothers games plus the Lost Levels. There's nothing wrong with that. If you like this is a nice thing that Nintendo made. Mario All-Stars was basically, oh, you missed the NES era of our games. Here's a compilation of the best Mario games from that time. Well, all the Mario games from that time.
I don't know. It was still bullshit to pay $60 for a ROM, essentially.
That's another issue.
Well, this
No,
dude is,
it's complete bullshit. Fuck Nintendo.
this is sounding like some sort of game theory video, but with more anger and spite.
Tears of the Kingdom is an open-world game which reuses the map of its predecessor. As a consequence of this, it's tainted with sin. I want to crucify it,
What?
just to teach it a fucking lesson. Rome fact. The Romans had a holiday where they crucified dogs on the anniversary of a time where the watchdogs failed to alert Rome to the presence of Gallic invaders. Instead, the geese did. On this holiday, they would treat the common geese of the city as kings. And much like how those dogs should not have suffered for the sins of their ancestors, neither should Nintendo. Nintendo took some of the petty cash they made from selling Mario Teach's enhanced interrogation techniques to add depth to the world. Literally, there's a subterranean part and an aerial part now.
Yeah, Tears of the Kingdom started in the planning stage as a DLC to Breath of the Wild, and then got out of hand in regards to how much content there was in. And they decided, okay, let's make that a standalone thing. That's why you have this weird sequel that completely breaks the story of every Zelda game, which is the actual problem of this. This thing doesn't work with any timeline anymore. It's broken. It's a parallel one. That's its actual problem. The improvements to the map, they're okay. The game has other bugs though that even in 1 year of polishing they didn't find, which very much surprises me.
The aerial part is beautiful and has sort of a classical Greek aesthetic. It looks like Zeus's summer home. And Link in his little Greek outfit looks like Zeus's main squeeze. My issues start at the Subterranean part, which forms the meat of the new offerings here.
I wouldn't say so.
We all have those moments in games, right? The ones that stick with us. The boss that tortured us for weeks. That story moment that really dug down deep and hurt. My most recent moment like that was the Siofra River Well in Elden Ring.
I don't care.
10 years later.
I don't.
Big things underground That's the good shit. That's an instant way to surprise the player. I'd do a
Why?
GDC
How?
talk on the art of putting big shit underground if I had any
It works for him.
Oh my god, this guy just... He has like an art form in like stuffing his video with useless shit that has nothing to do with the review itself. It's so annoying. Can he talk about the topic instead?
It's like the video has ADHD.
Oh,
He is ADHD itself.
Malicious ADHD.
it's like he's trying to be a woman with a scatterbrain, but he has the energy to actually animate and write a script that has all the crap in it that you weren't expecting him to bother with. It's like, dude, I don't like hide things underground. Okay.
Streamline your script. Not everything, not every extra
Limitations
information
whatsoever.
is funny or
DaVinci
important.
Resolve and having an Adderall prescription like my peers. How many ancient underground cities exist in real life? 0. But how often...
Are you serious right now? Are you... Does this guy know anything about archaeology?
I think the giant bunker complex in Turkey is can be called a subterranean city.
We are finding hidden cities buried under like meters and meters of earth from thousands of years ago.
Yeah, but he means things that also were lived in underground, which to a degree did exist.
Some of them did.
It
Yeah.
depends on what you call a city. If you think that it has to be at least 10,000 people, thousands of years ago, 10,000 people were a nation. So if you have a couple thousand people in your city, that's already pretty big. And yeah, look up the subterranean bunker complex in Turkey. It's that thing's thousands
This
of
is
years
hurting
old.
my brain.
He's just jumping around. I know stuff about like the Romans. I'm like, so do I. There's nothing to do with game design.
Yep. In his head, it does. He's doing the Maggie May thing.
I know makeup.
He's
Let's
making
bring-
random connections between things. It's a bit schizoid.
Yeah.
He's seeing connections between things that aren't there.
Humans write about ancient underground cities. Constantly. We love them. They sound awesome. And in the case of Skyrim, you can stumble into Blackreach by just stumbling into Septimus Cygnus, a crazy old scholar in the frozen far north of Skyrim. The sequence of events which take you to this massive ancient underground city starts with just an old man telling you to go to a dwarven ruin. Then, boom, the city hits you. It's all about the reveal. Furthermore,
What are we talking about?
I had to,
What is this?
Dude, I had this. I had already a similar effect in Morrowind when I was going deeper in the ruins next to. I think it isn't far from Balmora, and beneath that, if you go deep enough, you get to the next dungeon, which is a Dwemer dungeon, and that blew me away.
Yeah,
That
but this is
doesn't
silly.
it works easily.
This is dumb.
Yeah.
Every game has a reveal, if it's linear or non-linear. Who cares? Oh, you explored an open world. You found a cave. There's a city into the cave. Wow, amazing! As opposed to the deep roads in Dragon Age.
It doesn't much matter whether that's in a cave or in the sky or on your butt.
Whether it's open world or linear. Wow, this same concept. It's something underground. Okay, great. What's the reveal? Yeah, the reveal of what? The cave?
Because it's behind a wall?
Any
It's better
storytelling
because
element.
it's behind a wall.
Yeah, any storytelling element. There is something hidden. We don't know what. Oh, look, the next chapter has revealed the hidden thing. Okay. It's amazing.
Maybe he likes it more because it's shiny fluorescent cave lighting.
Yeah, the door looks prettier. The cave does not have a wooden latch, therefore it's awesome or something.
Shiny lights. Here's some. Where are my keys? I need to.
Oh
them.
boy, this guy.
Blackreach's and Elden Ring's underground locations are beautiful. They're some of the best looking locations in both games. But the broader point is, you stumble into them without realizing what you've done. It's literally the structure of a joke. I heard a joke once, so they go like this. Setup. I
Oh
wonder
my
where it
God.
goes. Punchline. Ancient, beautiful, and mysterious city. Look at this elevator. I wonder where it goes. Probably a big wet cave. It's a well, after all. Look at this big random ice hole in the desolate far north of Skyrim.
Oh, look, a
I
dungeon.
wonder what's in it. Oh, I'm sure it's just a chest or something. Surely it does not contain a crazy old man trying to transcribe an ancient Dwemer device which will send me to an innocuous-looking dwarven ruin that will end in a massive underground ancient city.
No, honestly, after playing so many video games, that's what I do expect.
Yeah, whenever you see a level design with a cliff or a mountain and there's a waterfall, you go to the waterfall, always. Always check behind the waterfall, under the waterfall. Just like, there's got to be something there.
Yeah, that was only surprising still in the 80s and 90s and when you were a kid. Now it's only surprising when you're a kid and learn this. But the image you just showed me, big mountain, so very, very big visual thing in an ice plain. And it has an entry, a barred entry in front. That thing is more than just a little hole with a chest. That thing is significant. It's like it's like how do I mark? There's something that Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom actually did surprisingly well with the Koroks, the little spirits that you find through super mini games. Many of them you find by them just hiding under a rock. You lift a rock that's in the landscape, and if it's the correct rock, then a Korok appears and gives you a little your key item that you can buy stuff for later. And over time, you get this feeling that you know exactly which the rocks are, and not because they have a different texture or anything, but simply how they are placed.
I'm
like
trying to
a rock in a specific way on a ledge.
I'm trying to equate this
that is one.
to something more relevant because he's talking about Skyrim. He brought up Elden Ring, and then I'm thinking of there's a perk in New Vegas called the Explorer perk, or whatever it's called, and it reveals all the map locations you've never been to, right? So that'd be like, oh great, now I know where to go to find whatever that thing is. And
what I meant with the Korok thing is that the way this area is designed indicates he is a big thing, not a small thing.
I know, but he's trying to say this is incredible because it was unexpected, and someone made an entirely optional dungeon, which Skyrim is 90% entirely optional. So what is your problem? Like what are you getting at? So is Fallout. So is any Bethesda open world game. I'm sure. The next Bethesda game, was it Starfield, is going to have the same game design. Wow, look at this amazing alien world. I didn't have to go here.
Yeah, and if you break it down to the base mechanics, in principle, Breath of the Wild did that. It didn't hide major dungeons, but all these little shrines are all hidden and they are all optional. Well, they are not all hidden, but some of them are so hidden that you actually have to figure out where they are.
I want him to get to the point because maybe Skyrim did something in a presentation-wise that made more sense to the audience as a wow factor or a surprise, which I could say, sure, dramatic. There's a certain video storytelling visual method that other game might not have. Fair enough. That's all you have to say. You don't have to have this weird diatribe for 4 minutes about, whoa, there's a hidden village. It's like, I don't, like, what are you getting at, buddy?
There's a hidden village in Zelda.
Yeah.
In the mountains.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a hidden village on the sea, which is also completely optional.
Which contains sun, which you can turn into a dragon by shooting with an arrow. Look at this big, evil-looking hole. Where does it go? Probably a big, evil underground place. Fucking look at it. Like, where do you think this goes? There's no surprise.
That's the story.
There's no discovery. It's the dead dove do not eat of open world design. Tears of the Kingdom.
No. What you miss here is that this world is treating the appearance of these holes with a sense of realism. Like the people are aware that this upheaval just happened. This giant earthquake that shattered the entire continent, and now there's these holes into this deep underground, full of monsters and dark, gloomy shit that drains your life. Let's explore it. Let's make up an archaeological division that sets out to map these out and science. People are aware of these things. That the world treats them as a thing that they're aware of and interact with. That's the difference.
Has a massive underground map. It forms the largest portion of the new content, but it lacks that structure to its reveal, as well as, frankly, the striking art design. It's shrouded in darkness, and you need to use items to remove it, but once you do...
Yes, the darkness is the design part. It's you don't know where you're treading. And it can be a completely safe path in front of you, but you think there's a giant chasm in front of you. You don't know. And that's part of the appeal. The next one is that the health you lose down there is locked. You cannot simply heal it up. You have to return to the surface or get special food that removes that. So there's an extra pressure on you while you're down there.
So
that creates a different exploration atmosphere instead of just running through it. It is very monotonous down there, but that's okay. I was running most of the time. I was just running through it. I couldn't stop. I just the next lighthouse, just the next lighthouse, just the next lighthouse, and before you know it, you've spent 20 hours down there, and it's still fun.
So all I'm getting from this guy is that he doesn't like the design of this game, and he prefers the other one for aesthetic reasons, not because there's something wrong with the game design.
Yeah.
Or like you have to use items. It's like, yeah. Plenty of games have torches and other ways of having to navigate in order to pass a level. He doesn't like that. Fair enough. But to say it's bad or not
Like,
as...
there are so few games that even try to properly incorporate darkness and the effects it has on gameplay.
And item management, economy, you have to afford all this the equipment to go down to the cave. Like, this is even in the side-scrolling game I played last week, has torches and lanterns. You need to buy them or else you're pitch black. You can't see. So that's nothing amazing. That's nothing unheard of, but it has to, like, how long does the torch last? How much do they cost? Et cetera, et cetera. So that's normal. That's like, I'm going to own a car. Oh, wait, I have to get insurance. I got to spend money on gas. I got to do all these things. Yeah, that's very basic stuff.
Yeah, and you can find what was fun was finding the 5th dungeon underground before it was part of the story, which was then very annoying for the story, because the story was then, hey, we need to find this 5th sage and the dungeon associated with the 5th sage. And I was just saying, I know where that is. Can we just go there, please? But there are other intricacies here, because the sky also interacts with the underground, and the underground is a reflection of the normal world. Like the Zelda games try to play with this mirror world concept all the time, and in this case, it is this whole thing of as above, so below. The entire terrain underground is mirroring the above. So where there's a mountain in the normal world above, you have a chasm below, and the opposite way around. And so you can even figure out, hey, there might be something interesting over there because there's something interesting above. So let's try to get there. But the terrain is doesn't play exactly out as you think. And yeah, there's a lot of fun with that. There's thought put into it.
It's still pretty underwhelming, which is a real disappointment considering the gorgeous anime-inspired art style of the broader game. Oh wait, when I say anime, I should clarify. I'm talking about the work of Studio.
Could you not do the red
art
to
style,
blue blinking?
thankfully, does not take influence from all the dumb shit that you like, because it is garbage. Thank God. Regardless, the reveal of the underground area doesn't play with your preconceptions, is my point. And I have a serious fondness for getting mind-fucked by game developers. But there was something in this game that did totally blindside me.
You didn't play Twilight Princess, I see.
Just Breath of the Wild's old map or an underground boring place that's ugly. I decided to go back to the original tutorial area, specifically the area where you'd level up with the angel statue. I was surprised to see the statue was now speaking in riddles.
The angel statue?
Weird shit. I could throw eyes down holes so I could carry them to a big ominous statue so I could put the eyes back in, and This is evil, right? This is an evil thing that I'm doing. This is what a witless dark servant of a dark eldritch god does. Go forth, my son. Bury 10 serpents under a full moon.
Now, Link always helps everyone, including the bad guys, because it helps them, or the seemingly bad guys. Not to help them, but it usually ends in some form of redemption. These things are extra gods besides Hylia, which is the mother goddess, and the goddess of time and light, and all that nonsense. And these things are other gods that are responsible for bringing the souls, these little glowy things, to the afterlife. And in order for your service to them, they reward you with some gifts, because due to things that happen, not all the souls can go back to the afterlife again. They're trapped in the underground.
Okay, but wait, is this optional or is this just part of the main story?
It's completely optional. Everything's optional.
Okay, so what the hell is this guy complaining about?
I don't know.
There's this thing I don't like and it's creeping me out, but I wanted to be surprised and I am surprised, but it's not good. I'm like, what are you talking about, buddy? What is this video?
Thing is, this world, when you explore it, it feels natural to explore. It's not this big surprise in your face like the underground city he mentions from Skyrim. It's just,
yeah, but
it all feels flowing into each other.
This is like I have a car. It's 10 years old. I really like it. Here's a car just like it, or seemingly just like it. I don't like it as much as my car from 10 years ago. It's like, okay, fair enough. But the new car has nothing wrong with it inherently of the things you're describing. Like, this is silly.
I'm saying this guy, he doesn't know what Zelda games actually are. He didn't play the old ones, because anime style is what Twilight Princess had. It's what Ocarina of Time had. It's, if you look at the art in the manuals, the very first Zelda game had. What the hell are you talking about? They were also always dark. Play Ocarina of Time.
This is
some of the darkest shit you can have a child play.
That is a very surface level argument for I don't like game, it looks like X. I like games that look like Y. Fair enough. That doesn't mean X is bad or Y is better. That just means you like Y. That's it. That's all this guy has been saying. I've not heard one cogent argument of why Zelda failed at anything aside from I didn't like the aesthetics of a cave.
Yeah. It's just subjective emotional reactions.
This is such a, like, all he's trying to do is make dumb jokes and swear a bit, and you're like, I don't care about your asinine opinion. This is silly. Give me something of apples to apples, and then we can measure why A is better than B. This is all you have to do.
And are the most handsomely. Alright, well, the last time I did Sinister Deeds at the behest of a strange statue, the guy turned out to be Glykon, the serpent god, and he swallowed that 8th continent which now only I can remember used to exist. Are you sure you're not just a dark evil god co-opting the clothes of the righteous? Wait, Glykon got to it first. What the
All right, this is I'm getting so fed up with this guy.
Let's skip a bit.
Let's go to 18.
Let's do one more minute. How about
this? Is so dumb. Like, he's trying to be funny. I guess people find it entertaining because this is what he does and people like him and he's got all these subs, so I assume he's clever. But holy, this is not...
Look, Smart, like, he was trying to make an argument that, like, Nintendo doesn't keep up with the times. So I guess this is an unsuccessful business endeavor from his perspective.
I don't know.
Their enemies. This is what it sounded like. What type of civilization would make that?
Anyone wants to keep outsiders out.
The type that I would like to know a lot more about, because that's fucking scary. Anyway, in a game or movie or book, I love when thought is put into the artwork of ancient civilizations. The ubiquitous weirwoods of A Song of Ice and Fire, these silent faces.
Are you sure that you put as much thought into
faces
that?
Carved by the first men and the children of the forest that appear to always be watching. The dragon flame of Alduin's wall, the way it snakes through the entire carving, melting all the works of man beneath it. They look like they're being physically crushed by dragon flame, which is fitting because it depicts a time where men were enslaved by dragons. Holy shit! Holy shit! The statues in From Software games. You gotta be fucking kidding me, these statues. The knights cutting their throat upon their own swords, the primordial serpent statues. There's not a single statue or carving or ceiling or floor in a From Software game that does not whisper a dark, sinister, and rich history.
Okay, so you want
Now, as you can
obvious
tell by the tone
depictions.
of my voice, I was rock hard in the intro to Tears of the Kingdom. Not because of that blonde bitch whose name I can't remember, nor the lithe, twinky frame of Zelda, but because that mural is awesome. The depiction of a battle is particularly cool. Like the very ground
That
upon which
joke
the
is
enemy
so
walks
old.
is like corrupted by their presence, or they need the corruption to exist, maybe? The thought was clearly put into it. And the sinister music and tone, oh man, I've never had a game grab me from the very beginning like this. This is all you get. It's all you get. From this point forward, every ancient technology you interact with looks like some shit from Fisher-Price. It's totally devoid of any interesting carvings, and bathed in a lime green glow.
It's a reference to the Akasha records, you retard.
What do you get about the civilization that made this? What did they do? What were they like? Any civilization that would make shit that looks this goofy deserves to not exist anymore. It's like...
Wait. Because it doesn't have a gory, potentially dark and evil mural, therefore it's goofy?
Which is what it always seemed to indicate, because you always had, when you had dungeons with that design, like the Fire Temple in Skyward Sword, you would have a lot of these lizard enemies. Which fits, because the Zonai designs always use the dragons as their symbols. But now that it's just turned into, well, they kind of know about the spirits, don't that if you eat them, you turn into a sky noodle. Yeah, great.
So,
kind of.
From what I'm getting,
meh.
he wants more lore or backstory from visual designs like murals or paintings or statues.
Yeah, that's okay, but that's what Zelda games always had. They were very, very show don't tell about their story and history in the world that you had to look for, and you could use your own head.
Okay.
One of the mistakes of the Kingdom does is that it goes into over exposition. It tells too much that doesn't make sense, instead of just leaving it unsaid as previous games did, which allows you to fill in the gaps in a way that makes sense. And what Tears of the Kingdom essentially showed is that Nintendo sucks at writing stories.
Okay, so the criticism of one of those dungeons with the proper mural was, here's a great story, or here's a story that at least is compelling and causes my imagination to go into fun places. Here's another example where it's just puzzle, generic electric puzzle thing. You press buttons, things light up. I understand that. Does that make the puzzle worse because the puzzle isn't fun, or because there's not enough lore to constitute the history of the world you're in? And if that's the case, fair enough. He wants lore of every little blade of grass. There are people like that. They love reading fantasy. That's what you get reading Martin and Tolkien, etc. I get that. So we could argue at that specific puzzle or that part of the game that Nintendo didn't do enough to facilitate this guy's expectations. Now, was it supposed to?
Which is odd, because some of the dungeon reveals are actually quite visually nice, and I guess if you didn't accidentally find them all because you were captivated by exploring the depths, might even be nice reveals as you go along with the story first. Because you get the giant arc in the sky that is inside of a tornado that gets revealed, that you are then have to climb up outside the tornado to then jump into the eye of it to be able to land on it. First, you only see shadows of it when there's lightning through the clouds. Or the Gorod city inside Death Mountain that you get to, or the lightning temple that emerges from the desert that is several times the size of the Gerudo town, and you can see from basically every distance in the game.
Yeah, I'm going along with the visual storytelling concept this guy is more interested in. Like, look at
Yeah, but that is that. That is that.
Yeah, I know, but look at the Fallout games where they have a bunch of bodies in various positions in various buildings that have been destroyed because it's been hundreds of years. And it's like, oh, this guy was sitting down for lunch or whatever. None of it makes any sense when you think about it, because did this entire building get hit by radiation instantly and everyone just sort of collapsed and died? So there's a lot of holes in why things are the way they are, but they still tell their own story visually that you could try and put the pieces together to figure out what's going on. So he wants this more realistic setting to explain why this column is half destroyed and that column's whole and this other column is completely just like, he wants all this information.
I think he just likes more obvious things to interpret because he doesn't take the time to look at anything else.
It's kind of like
the less obvious ones. For example, in Majora's Mask, you have statues of the giants that nobody knows exist because it's forgotten mythology. And beneath their feet, you have an upside down Triforce, which you can interpret as them the giants having beaten the gods or something. There's no explanation for that. It's just there.
I'm trying to like compare this to, let's say, a painting of, I don't know, a religious painting. Doesn't matter. And he goes, hey, look at this Renaissance art of the Blessed Virgin. And it's fully representational. You know, pick Titian, pick any of these really great, beautiful artists that can do amazing oil paints. And then he goes, well, look at this other game with different styles of art. And I don't know, maybe the analogy is like Byzantine. And he's looking at like freaking 800 years ago. And, you know, Theophanes is making this 2D looking horrible geometry, bad vanishing point. Like everything, all the math is off. He's like, it just doesn't look good. You're like, everything in terms of art was at that level for that style. That's the point. It's Byzantine. It's very, before they had proper techniques and understanding of visuals and optics. It's like, well, these are two different things to me, but he's just comparing it because they happen to be dungeons for two different games. It's a bit strange. I get what he's saying, but it's like, this is like, I expect certain parts of a game not to be completely detailed. Like when I go to Fallout and I encounter a vault, I'm like, whoa, a whole vault. Now, you might know or might not know what Fallout is, but we know it's all a bunch of psychological tests or sociological tests. Each vault had its own program. So you're like, okay, what were they doing down here? Was it scientific? Was it academic? Was it sociological? Was it they had some sort of virus? What were they doing? Like that's the puzzle, because you know the story already. You don't need to be told, by the way, vaults are a trap, blah, blah, blah. He wants backstory on everything. And he just doesn't like the way that Zelda does it.
Whenever you and works of American civilization, when they see all of our ugly garbage, future archaeologists are gonna be so very unimpressed. Cornelius, I have unearthed another ancient American relic. Ah, great work, Elijah. Tell me, was it a parking lot or Walmart? OTs of K. So much of this game takes place in ancient shrines and buried cities, untouched for millennia, but none of it feels serious or foreboding or interesting. It doesn't hint at dark times, nor a beautiful golden age, nor anything, period.
Why should it?
It's just so lame. The vehicle parts, which are ancient...
No, the shrines are not there to be hinting to you at any golden age stuff. The shrines are there as trials for the hero in order to get stronger, to teach him, to train him, and to give him a bit more sacred power so that he gets more hearts. They are there as training places, just like in Breath of the Wild. The one critique, they are better designed than in Breath of the Wild. They're more fun to do, is what I would say. However, the distribution is bad, and the main mistake, I would say, is that they made even more than 120 this time. Instead of making less that are bigger, they instead made more. that I'd say is a detriment, because I'd rather have less of these that are more thought out, more complex, than just what they did. Like, fuck off. Go on.
Ancient technology are incredibly fun to play with, but they're spit out of a fucking slot machine.
Yes.
Alright, so in Skyrim, when you collect a word from a dragon wall, it feels like you've just taken part in some epic and ancient ritual.
Yeah, that happens repeatedly several times throughout the game. It gets boring the same way fighting the dragons gets boring, because you're so powerful and a dragon just flies by and you hit it with one arrow and it dies. It's cool the first time, and they just kept doing it over and over again.
And yes, the bubblegum gacha machine is silly. It's also a stupid idea to to distribute random items by paying your currency to it, because what civilization would do that?
Yeah,
but it's the same. But the mechanics are the same.
To say that this is this amazing event is like, it's not that big a deal. There's 3 words that per skill that you get, the dragon words that you unlock stronger versions of your dragon speak, whatever the ability does. But once you get halfway through the game, or you get like most of these dragon speeches, you're so powerful it doesn't really matter. Like, it's like, oh wow, another dragon word, great, cool. So what? Like, it's like any other collectible game. It's, oh wow, I could now summon a bunch of ghosts to help me fight. Like, good for you.
Yeah. And I agree with the silliness about the bubblegum gacha, but I can also explain to you the game design choice on why that is done. Why it gives you a random distribution of these Lego parts for your ancient contraptions. That is to force on you the items you don't know what to do with, so that you are more likely to eventually play around with them, figure them out, and incorporate them into your designs, so that you do. That's all it is. That's why it's random.
The massive stone, the mysterious carvings made from hands that don't appear human, the epic chant in a language you don't know. It's sick. There's decorum, there's fanfare.
Decorum? You're a Mary Sue running around. Oh, look, it's the Dragonborn. He can do all the things the Greybeards study decades to get 1 or 2 words out. He just stands near them. They hit him with the word, and he absorbs it like it's nothing. They're like, wow, that's amazing. I spent all my life trying to do that. You just did it in seconds.
Oh, look, cuneiform.
There is definitely some, when you go to the Greybeards and they sort of walk you through their temple and they teach you all these things. Yeah, that's great. And then you're a god and you can crush them all if you ever wanted to. Like anything else in the game. It's unbalanced. And then you have all these mods, God knows, they make the game, they try to make the game harder. They have to. Because you're just crushing everyone.
I would have done things different
Zelda's
about
got all that stuff when you pull the
that,
Master
but
Sword at least. But the lack of it everywhere else lets the game down more than one would think on the surface.
No, you get the sort
The
of
first
stupid.
Halo game came out over 20 years ago. People still make video essays about how much they love Forerunner architecture. And to use a real-life example, ancient Egyptian cultural practices, architecture, and aesthetics were so goddamn spooky and mysterious and fascinating, it's inspired like 8 million movies, as well as all sorts of weird mummy parties in England way back in the day. They ate the mummies. It was very gross.
People are still making content about Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, if you didn't notice. And those were the first games of that type.
Zelda's Zonai civilization is so boring. It cannot inspire me to just walk into these goddamn shrines for any reason beyond getting more upgrade material.
Okay, so what about...
That is true. They fucked that up. Yes.
What about the 70 to 80% of Skyrim, which has nothing to do with anything? They're just a bunch of guys in a cave. You go slaughter, and you take their loot. That is literally what Skyrim is. It's just a random series of dungeons that you pop up right where you entered, when you finish them. There's barely any story. There's maybe a quest from a town, like, oh, there's some ghost, and okay, I'll go kill the ghost. Yeah, all right.
Yeah, I do agree that they fucked up the backstory with the Zonai, because you have when you played Skyward Sword, you get this absolutely amazing these hints at the how the imprisoning war went with the gods flying through the sky and fighting, and that's where the goddess sword came from, that was turned into the master sword, and that is now entirely missing here. There's not even the master sword after this, with this timeline, can't even be made, because that's not how the imprisoning war apparently happened. It's complete nonsense. And there's really no backdrop to these. It's just like, oh, we're just a normal kingdom with weird design technology. Like, it's boring. It is boring. It is a letdown. It is a fumble. It shouldn't have been made.
The game revolves around uncovering the history of the Zonai civilization, how it ties into Zelda herself, and I don't care. The ancient mystery does not feel ancient nor mysterious. I do not want to know more about the Zonai. I do not care about the Zonai. They're furries. Their architecture is boring. They don't seem warlike, nor wise.
Of course they don't seem warlike. They do seem wise. But what the issue is with the Zonai backstory is that it is basically just a Sentai story. It's an Ultraman story. And that is weak.
Nor anything. They have the cultural footprint of a saltine cracker. You would think, considering how much time spent exploring is really just time spent finding these fucking shrines, the game would work harder to instill them with some sense of ancient.
They have the same religion as the Hylians. They have goddess statues at that time already.
Intrigue. My fundamental problem with Zelda is that all I hear about is how great the exploration is, and how much there is to discover, but this is incorrect. There are not a lot of things
it is enjoyable
to discover. There are 2 things to discover. You just discover them over and over again. Except for, the odd big scary dragon, or those goddamn Yiga clan guys who...
How is this any different than Skyrim? There's always a big scary dragon every 20 minutes. There's always some random marauder coming after you, or some bear, or whatever the case may be.
All his arguments so far have been completely subjective. It's like it holds no ground. Like, he just likes Skyrim better because it's like more of a better design than the other one.
It looks different.
Too cartoony. He doesn't care about furries. I can understand that point. That's the only point I can understand. Everything else is bullshit.
Surprising real goddamn fast. So now we're here, at the end of my gamer anger. And I want to clarify something. Tears of the Kingdom is better than Skyrim. Snow in Skyrim is snow. Snow in the new Zelda titles communicates that you need to dress warmly, take a warming elixir you gathered the ingredients for and cooked, and, of course, also you can slide down the snow.
Yeah, but there are mods in Skyrim to change that, to make it as hardcore as you wanted it to be, like dressing warmly in the northern parts of Skyrim. And there's all sorts of things like sleeping properly, eating properly, getting enough water, etc. So, and I'm sure he's aware of that. There's so many mods that are very popular. So, I mean, he could have said the vanilla version. I'm like, okay, fine. That's totally understandable. But you don't play Skyrim vanilla. It's been so long. Why would you? It's so silly to do that. You do all the Bethesda games, you mod. If you don't mod them, you are, I don't know, it's like buying a Jetta and like ripping out all of the features that you bought that they give you for free. I don't know if you guys ever seen a Jetta. It has like so many things they loaded up with. You could buy it.
No. But it doesn't come with that. You have to add the features.
There's three major models, but even the base has plenty of features. So yes,
I did Morrowind without mods because there was no internet.
Okay, that's different. But
do you know how hard it was to get a patch?
Yeah, obviously back in the day. But nowadays, if you ever install anything on your PC, like a Bethesda game, there's thousands, if not tens of thousands of mods. And that's why you play the game. For like these 10 or 20 mods you really love, HD packs, textures, music, sound, whatever. That's why you get them. Not complaining about, weather is not realistic. It's like, what do you want, dude? Do you want a simulation or do you want something else? Like, what you can do that with Skyrim. You could do that with the Elder Scrolls games.
Zelda is a gameplay opportunity, both obstacle and boon, influencing player behavior and rewarding those who engage with the game's systems. Snow in Skyrim is set dressing. Zelda has interlocking, seamless, imaginative systems which intrigue and delight the player. Skyrim has an alchemy system which you can break in 10 minutes flat, and whose greatest feature is how funny it is. Skyrim barely works. It sucks, but it does have one quality that no game since has managed to even get close to touching. I really, really want to know what's here.
Zelda has that.
Skyrim.
So does Elder Scrolls.
I am someone who has never played Skyrim because I played Oblivion and I just felt like it's gonna be the same game. So
yeah, but
I haven't played the Zelda games either. But for me, like this is like I don't care. I really don't care what's there.
Yeah, I think the Elden Ring game came and went, and it's like, oh, this is how you do open world. You double jump onto mountains with your magical ghost goat or whatever that creature is. So
yeah,
you can go. The same thing. If you see it, you can go there. Same, almost with Fallout, almost with Witcher.
Gothic.
There's certain mountains you can't traverse. There's certain impassable walls. Yeah, fair enough. But for the most part, you can go. If you see it, you can go there. That is not a selling point. That's what a sandbox game is.
It's all just that subjectively the exploration didn't work for him in Zelda. In this Zelda game.
I guess. I don't know. This is a strange argument. Like Dragon Age Inquisition doesn't really have that. It says, yeah, you can sort of go to that mountain, but you can't climb it. It's not a climbing game. So, but why would you?
That's why I go back to Gothic. That also had this, I wonder what's over there. Oh, that's a strange cave. I want to know. Oh, God, orcs. Oh, my God, no. Same thing. Exactly
so
same
he's
thing.
using, so this is I think the Google Trends tool. And he's put in a bunch of games based on their search volume. And it looks like Elder Scrolls has been popular for so long because it's frickin' everywhere on all kinds of consoles. So everyone is looking
Has
out.
there been a Game Boy port?
And there's the massive modding community.
I'm surprised he didn't put Zelda on this thing.
That's a good point, yeah.
Has been so influential, it's sort of insane that no one talks about it.
It's not. It's just popular. It's not.
No, we're tired of Skyrim because it's everywhere. We make jokes about it because of that.
That's like saying Call of Duty is influential. It's like I guess if you're making a first-person shooter, but you wouldn't want to make another Call of Duty. That's not a good. It's not a good business plan.
What is this text? In spite of 6 years between them, they share a lot in common. They're enormous RPGs with ambient activity everywhere. I wouldn't say there's a lot of activity in Breath of the Wild. Secrets to discover, hidden areas to complete. As it turns out, not a coincidence, developer was inspired partly by Skyrim. This is, what the fuck? This is bullshit.
It was cited
The
as
Zelda games were always
before
this.
the new Zelda
What are you
games,
talking
as well
about?
as Elden Ring. I would play Skyrim as patient zero for the proliferation of the whole go anywhere, do anything, play any way you want game type that we've seen spread like cancer. Skyrim obviously did not prove that such a game was possible. Such a game had existed for quite some time. What Skyrim proved was that Call of Duty bros would buy that shit up en masse if you just make the RPG mechanics basic enough. But no one has touched that exploration for me. It still remains untouched for me, largely due to this emphasis not only on rewarding the player with materials, but imbuing those materials with a story.
Are you joking right now? Are you?
I think he's delusional.
Skyrim has it. all the items, they have this certain hierarchy. Once you get to they call it Dowrin, or I can't remember this stupidly designed weapons. If you see them, they were designed for sadists to hurt themselves on. The axes, the swords, the grips, the spiky part, they're stupid. They're really dumb design. So whoever designed those were crazy, self-mutilated people.
Data?
The Daymar? I don't remember the name. It's a weird.
Well, the data don't live in the material world. Well, how would they know how it works?
Yeah, there's barely.
Oh, we need those pointy things make a weapon. So let's add pointy things to the thing.
Yeah, it's so silly. Like this is there's so many levels in Skyrim where there's no words, there's no books. And if there's a book, it's like, okay, what is this book about? I have no idea. There's no people. Sometimes there's quests, but there's no like dialogue. It's just go here, kill thing, get stuff, sell stuff at store, and that's it. Repeat. If you follow the main story, it's like we have to kill this big dragon. It's like, okay. First, talk to the Greybeards. Okay, you have to walk up a mountain first. All right, fine. Blah blah blah. You're the chosen one. It's a boring story. It's linear. It's simple. It's nothing complicated. It's not the point of Skyrim. Skyrim is a giant sandbox for you to mod.
But Smud, I want to walk there. I can't see the mountains.
You know how long that takes? It's so boring.
I want to say, I think what happened here is that this guy grew up with Skyrim as his first open world game, and therefore it leaves the biggest impression, and therefore it's the best, despite its flaws.
So he's gay.
It is like a disconnected New Vegas. New Vegas has all these factions, and if you kill or start hurting one of the others, or you're in the town, you start hurting some of the town members, they tell you, oh, your reputation for this town or this group will alter, and this alters how you approach problems, and ultimately how the factions have an impact on the ending of the game and how you get there. That's
even when like you're just befriending, like for example, the Legion too much, then the NCR is already on your ass. Like it's so interconnected that it's so great. Like you don't really get that from Skyrim.
And it's not Alpha Protocol detailed and nuanced as we would have liked, but it allows that freedom for you to just suddenly turn on. Like you could just go into the NCR camp, say, I'm just going to slaughter you all, even though they're your friends. And you can do that. And the game is fine. You can keep going. That's the concept of open world. And anyone can die. The story keeps going on, including the main guy house in New Vegas. You can kill the main guy. The story keeps going. Skyrim, I could barely remember outside of we have to kill the big dragon because he's a menace. And you're like, all right. And you do that, and the game just keeps going. Because it's like, all right, you did the main plot. Now go into some caves to kill some wraiths or whatever.
Dragons are more like mosquitoes in that game.
After about 2 hours, you could just snipe them, and they never chase after you. You're just like shooting with an arrow, yeah, whatever. Huge bullet sponge. You're like, okay.
That's how the dragons died out.
And then you get their bones. You make stupid armor. It looks ridiculous, like a caveman. Stupid. Anyway, I prefer the Fallout games, not because you have guns, because there's more to them. There's more thought put into them.
And of course, the effort taken to give the ancient places we explore a sense of intrigue and weight. The new Zelda titles are not empty wastelands. These are absolutely a step above the usual garbage that takes influence from Skyrim, because that garbage is usually from Ubisoft. The map in Tears of the King...
Wait. What garbage in Ubisoft? You're trying to tell me Napoli or Venice or any of these cities in the second and third Assassin's Creed games are not well thought out? They're based...
I think like those games predate Skyrim.
Yeah, they were architecturally accurate depictions of those cities during those time periods. That's part of the reason you play those games.
Unless he means that like from the ones that came after Skyrim, but I don't know. I can't follow his weird logic anymore. I lost the game a long time ago.
And they are filled with stuff, but it's just Rewards. You did The Thing.
Wow, welcome to every game ever.
What do you do in Skyrim then? Like, what
that
are
about
those runes
dragon?
that you get to read after defeating a dragon or whatever the fuck? Is that not a reward?
You get their remains, you get their bones, and sometimes they drop nothing. So you get no rewards. This is so silly.
No rewards. Fuck you. You can walk all there to the mountain.
Yeah, and then you realize that dragon gear is heavy and not as good as the other gear you get later on. So it's like, who cares? They're literally just mosquitoes after a certain point. Just let me just go kill that annoying.
We bitched and moaned about Koroks for about 6 years now. At least they made them less unbearable this time.
Yeah, there's a huge problem with power creep in the game that in the vanilla game at least it doesn't get addressed. It's like powering through Symphony of the Night. You get to level 60 or 50, you're just a god. You're crushing everything.
Player, here's $1. Go buy yourself a nice inventory slot. Rewards removed from interesting stories. Rewards that do not inspire curiosity in the game itself and what more there is to uncover. Yahtzee Croshaw once said there are 2 types of games. Games that make you feel and games that make you numb. Games that energize and excite and inspire the player with big ideas and emotional moments. And games that just dispense treats.
Are you... Okay, first off, don't listen to Yahtzee. Secondly, there's more than 2 kinds of games out there. There's games that make you think, like Alpha Centauri and Planescape Torment and the Fallout series. I mean,
You have to read for that.
You have to pay attention and understand the messages in KOTOR and KOTOR 2 and what Kreia is trying to tell you.
Yeah, the Koroks are certainly not designed to give you great feelings, aside from annoyance.
Yeah, this is reducing everything in video games to busy work, and if it's not making you feel something, it's not worth your time. This is the bullshit that we heard from Patrick Willem and all those other guys, the subjectivist kind of outlook, like, oh, if it doesn't make me feel anything, it's not worth my time. I don't care that you don't like the Blair Witch Project or whatever movie you.
It's not. It has a simple answer for that. Then it's not your game. It's not made for you. And the good thing about if something in these last 2 Zelda games becomes tedious to you, it is usually basically everything is optional. Therefore, the tedium is optional. Just skip it.
Yeah, I like the example of genres that are or games, franchises that are so popular, but they're just not for you. Like Pokemon, for me, I'm just not into it. But if I play it for the sake of playing it to say what's this game about, you can easily understand the appeal and why it's so much fun. That's like anything we put our brains to analyze why does this thing work or not work for you, or if it's broken, how does it get there? You use your basic analytic ability and you divorce yourself from your subjective thoughts, your expectations, all those feelings that are pointless to figuring out what that thing is. This guy can't do that. He's just like, this is crap because doesn't make you think and feel. It's like, what? Do I need an emotional connection with Zelda? Like the first NES game to enjoy it? No.
No, his feelings are just wrong.
You need to have an emotional relationship with Link to get to level 1.
Feelings.
Get through the dungeon in level 1 and get the...
No, you don't need an emotional connection with Link. You are Link.
You have to... The wooden boomerang is a part of me. Okay.
Playing. Zelda is, despite appearances, the type of game that makes me numb. I find its exploration actively...
Every game I've ever played makes me numb.
If you didn't like Breath of the Wild, why did you buy this?
Every activity in human behavior, even the ones I enjoy, make me numb. You want to know why? It's because we're human. Because once we're stimulated after a certain point, we don't get enough hormones to keep the happy juices flowing.
You look at this frame. Compare it to the mountain shot he used for Skyrim with, I want to know what's there. You look at this with all the floaty stuff, and then the tower with the skylights. Don't you want to know what's there?
No, I want to run away. It's too weird. I don't have my life insurance with me.
Yeah. It's like, I'm not doing enough crack cocaine. I can't compare it to Skyrim. Therefore, Skyrim sucks. You know, it's this. Where's my dopamine level right now? Well, I'm not getting enough reward from killing a dragon. Therefore,
You know what helps with that? Not playing games for a few months.
yeah, do something else. Get your life together. I don't know. Stub your toe.
When something gets stale, stop doing it or ground yourself with low quality crap. Like when you only eat steak every day, it will become stale at some point.
Well, you need more spices there. I don't know about you.
Yeah, but just eat something more basic than that.
You will appreciate things when you don't have them after a while. Yes, that's true.
Yeah, or eat a few really badly done steaks.
Oh no, don't do that.
No, absolutely not.
Don't do that.
That must be like a very German thing to do.
But it's what we do with tea. If you only ever drink the high quality tea, you get too used to it, and then you don't really appreciate it as much anymore.
I don't know about
So
that.
once in a while, it helps. Just buying these cheap, horrible tea bags with dust in them, making a pot with that, and force this crap down, and then you know again. Then you finally know again what good stuff you actually have.
Wow,
that you can appreciate.
I've been traumatized by pretty bad meals. So, and plus I grew up on certain cuisines that once I try a tiramisu or a lasagna, my brain's already biased because I already have years and years of experience. So I can tell right off the bat, like I tried a lasagna joint that was halal, and the sauce had all these seasoning. Like the guys really had fresh ingredients. Like, this is delicious. I would never go there again. It's not Italian lasagna. It is lasagna by every metric, every recipe, but it's not the way I know it. And
We should go to McDonald's, Smud, so we can appreciate food again.
when they use the printed patties from the meat printer.
I have nothing against fast food. It's certain fast food is they do weird shit and they use weird ingredients. That's where I stop eating or whatever. But fast food is cheap. It has a purpose, it has a function. And if you respect it at that level, then you can say, okay, I know what this is. I don't need to compare it to a burger I get for $20 downtown or whatever. So
$20 for a burger.
that's cheap. That's a cheap burger downtown, at least in Canada.
Oh, right, you have Canadian fun money.
Yeah.
What is that in real money?
Probably 13 or $14. I don't know.
$13 for a burger.
A good burger, yeah. Anyway,
Fuck.
we're almost done. This guy has been what's the word? Try hard? No, that's not the right word.
I think he's stuck somewhere.
He's in a place that we are never ever going to be in. We're just like looking from like 10,000 feet.
No. I think it's a place I left when I was 6.
Yeah, it's this weird childish world that you're like, I grew out of this in about 2 minutes. This is not a problem. Don't like game, stop playing game. It's all you got to do.
So exploring this game to satisfy my curiosity, I do it for upgrade materials. While playing the game, despite all the effort and polish and inventiveness on display,
That is
I just couldn't
over-designed.
help but ask, do you not take pride in your exploration?
Oh, you did the thing with quoting Miyamoto or whatever his name is. Oh my God.
So that's why we wasted 5 minutes of the first video. Okay.
He did the reference. It's amazing. He's smart. He has a memory. Holy
Look at
hell.
all these dumb people giving money to this guy.
Anyway, do we have any memes to lighten up our day?
Yes.
Please send me
thank
the
you.
memes. Let's see what we got here. All right. Here's something more interesting. A webcomic about Zelda and Ganondorf in an arranged marriage. It's called A Tale of Two Rulers. Interesting.
I don't think he would look that surprised.
Oh my god. Graha, stupid femboy Link. Save me, Link. I'll save you, Prince. No need to save me, Link. I think I can handle this myself. Okay.
Well, that's a better one where Link is surrounded by all the hot females that like him in the game.
Wait for a point.
He doesn't need to. If it's about getting the girl, he has plenty of options.
Oh dear God.
What I played, Zelda Breath of the Wild. What I expected, Skyrim. What I got, I can't read that. But what is that manga and what is going on? Why is it partially colored? I don't know. Okay, whatever.
So the Gerudo in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom don't really have tits. They're flat as can be.
Oh. The Elder Scrolls V, Skyrim, PS3, 92, 6.7. The Witcher 3 Wild. Okay, you guys always like you're better than me. Oh yeah, okay, I get the joke. Yeah, all these games are probably better than Skyrim. Skyrim's old. It was designed to be a certain functional game, and that's it. There's barely any story to mention.
Typical Bethesda flaws.
Elden Ring, all kinds of lore. Legend of Zelda, all kinds of lore. Witcher 3, all kinds of lore. He should have easily have referenced those games in his argument to say why those games work so well. He just mentions them. He didn't even talk about them. And all of a sudden...
What a waste.
What is going on here?
Another. Oh, that's posing for the friend picture at the end of the Champions Ballad, where you get a memory of how all the heroes of the Calamity War posed for a picture together. And Mifa, the fish girl, the Zora, she has a secret crush on Link.
Oh, cute. This is subtle storytelling, visual storytelling. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it is very Sentai, sadly. I say sadly. I think it's a detriment to it. In Breath of the Wild, at least, they made it cute and acceptable. In Tears of the Kingdom, it's just waste of a story.
Well, that was...
Maybe you could have made something with that as an additional element, but I think that what would make the meat of a good story is missing.
It's
I
always...
think like the rest of this video was worse, but this is like a close contender.
I know this is a different reason why it's worse, and the previous one was just dumb. Like the guy just didn't know what he's doing. This guy is
the previous one was actively lying. This one is just dumb.
I would say there was a lack of information and a lack of logic and a bunch of other things. I would just say he's just dumb. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah,
this one, he has a hatred or some sort of bias combined with emotion, and he's trying to be funny. There's all this other presentation crap, and you're just like, oh dear. This is not a fair
I'd say
shake.
it's the other way around.
No.
The previous guy had a clear bias, and he was...
Oh, they both have a bias.
He was deliberately omitting stuff, while this guy is just ignorant of stuff.
He got some things in terms of aesthetics that he didn't like. He wanted storytelling with visuals that weren't as effective or as numerous in the latest Zelda. It's like, fair. You made that. You did a very clear understanding between this and that. Good. We got it. You didn't like it what they did the second time. Understood. Everything else was petty nonsense. Sadly.
Mm-hmm.
And they're very different games. They're very different experiences. I don't like comparing like raspberries to strawberries or that sort of thing. You know, they're both red. They both have sweetness. It's like, okay.
They're both Sammelnussfrüchte.
Your hands get all messy when you squish them like a retard. Like, okay, yeah, thanks. So, yeah, this was pretty bad. I'm sure he has better videos than this if he's got a fan base, but this was definitely a bad one. So, guys, nothing wrong with these Zelda games. There's all kinds of bugs and issues and weirdness that make it special, that make all the Zelda games unique And I would say that their uniqueness, their scope, and their production value outshines their flaws. I can't think of a inherently bad Zelda game. There might be one out there, like for the GBA or something like that. But
No, not really. No.
yeah, they're all really quality games. And Skyrim is technically a game where you move around and fight giant flying creatures called dragons.
I think at least since Oblivion, what Bethesda has made is create not games, but bare bones frameworks that modders can turn into games.
Yeah, and that's great. There's lots of games like Neverwinter Nights 2. They do that same idea. It's mostly a level editor to make whatever you want.
Yeah, but that they didn't market it that way. That was the problem. Everybody criticized this really, really weak written campaign that they had when it was really the level editor, the campaign editor that they released with the campaign as an example of what you can make with it. And bad marketing.
Okay, well, in case you guys didn't know, the air quality index of Toronto is around 5 or 6. It was at 9 yesterday, so I'm breathing a bit better today.
Oh, you're on Chinese levels now?
Yeah, no, it's weird that the fires are still going on from Quebec and across Canada.
That's probably the wind turned.
Yep, pretty much. But I'm going to go get some water. It's still a bit humid, and I got to go relax, as always, in the evenings. Thank you guys so much. That was in terms of videos to sink our teeth into, I think it was okay, but it just got annoying, and we had to skip it. And I hate having to do that because I want a juicy video that's big that we can come back to, take a breather.
There was no meat and there was no bone, only sludge.
Anger and bad jokes.
Very nostalgic Rick inspired video.
Angry sludge.
I was gonna say closer to the game theory guy.
Yeah.
Those kind of jokes and that kind of humor.
Yeah, not having any kind of point to the video.
More
essentially
sensationalistic, yeah, that sort of thing. Anyway, thank you guys. I did appreciate the video, as always. Keep them coming. We'll see what we can do tomorrow. I'm not sure we have anything planned. I think we have a day off tomorrow. But yeah, anything's good to go. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great night. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Bye.